Welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Always proud to be here with you, having some fun here on MixLR.com/WakeUpCallDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com. And on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. So I hope you're having yourselves a tremendous morning. It is snowing here in Syracuse, and not only snowing in central and upstate New York, but it's sticking. It's snowing pretty good here. So we're happy to have you here, happy to be hanging out inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Cafe Kubal with 5 locations that are all around you here in central and upstate New York. You can find them by going inside of Golisano's Children's Hospital, as well as 324 West Water Street, 401 South Salina Street, 3501 James Street, and 208 North Townsend Street in the Holly Green Cafe. Always happy to be here with you. Always happy to have some fun here Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, as I had stated before. So, a day early because he's got some travel going on and some things he's got to do. Papa Joe is here with us a day early. Will be hanging out with us in just a moment. He's normally with us in his Thursday post every Thursday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. or 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Today he'll be with us in the first hour of the Wednesday show. That means the midweek blitz with Julian Wiggum will be moved to tomorrow. So all that's happening this week is Papa Joe and Julian are flip-flopping. Julian will be talking with us on Syracuse football tomorrow, and Papa Joe's talking with us about college football and more today. College football and the NFL will be speaking with us today. And then, as always, in the second hour of the show, we'll do the Fantasy Football Power Hour, proudly presented by the Wildcat Sports Pub on 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York, about Fantasy Week 13. So with all of that being stated, let's bring the man of the hour into the broadcast. PJ, how are we doing today?
Good morning, Daniel. Yeah, it's a little frosty down here. I sent you some pictures there. We had a hard freeze last night here in St. Augustine, which is unusual for this time of the year, but it won't last. It'll be, I think we had a couple of cool days, and then we'll be right back up into the 70s. So it's just something you got to dress for and stay inside for us.
Yeah, and it's funny that you got your frost last night because we got snow last night, and it was snowing pretty good. God was shaking that snow globe pretty well, and it ended up falling down and sticking last night. This morning, it is still on the ground, and it's still snowing. So, not anything crazy, but it's funny how it makes me feel closer to you, PJ, that when I wake up with some of that white stuff on the ground from God up high, that you got a little bit of that yourself in some way, shape, or form in Florida. So, it keeps us close in a time where we've been far away. So, at least I could take that positive from it.
Okay, that's good.
So,
that's good.
PJ with us a day early here. Papa Joe, what's top of mind right now? You know, there's a lot of different things going on in college football and the NFL. What's on your mind right now as far as, you know, just in general? When I talk with you about the sports world, since the last time we spoke, what's really been weighing on your mind or something that's been top of mind for you?
Well, I'm still concerned about the NFL trying to piecemeal together a season, and as is college football. You know, it's ludicrous what's happening. It doesn't make any sense. They should have shut it down months ago, but, you know, the almighty dollar sticks. So I'm a little concerned with where direction they're going. I don't see that this is going to be I don't see how we're going to get through the rest of the college season and pro season unscathed some more. It seems like every time you read the paper, there's 2 or 3 or 10 guys that are already down with it again, and then they gotta cancel. No one wants to play FSU anymore. They denied to play the last second game, so they're in a rough spot over there. I'm not sure if that's self-inflicted or not, but I wish them luck up there. Hope it's okay. And the second thing that bothers me is the Caldwell deal with Jacksonville. You know, we knew that this was coming, and those of us that follow the Jags, we knew this was coming. I'm surprised that Shad did it in the end, like sort of like the end of the season. That's not his way of doing things. And then I started thinking about it, and I was thinking, you know, if he's gonna let go of Caldwell, then he's gonna get rid of Marone. So I'm thinking I'm listening. I got the radios on. I got this on.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. So I'm hoping he lets Marone finish the year. The guys played hard. This last line, they played hard. They should have won this game too. That's 2 games in a row they could have won, and they're not. They're leaving it on the field. And Marone is that kind of coach. I mean, he's working his ass off for them, and they're working their ass off for him. So it's good to see. You know, they're not laying down. They're playing hard. They're tackling hard.
Yeah.
They're tackling from behind. They're just. And Glennon was a breath of fresh air. I mean, Glennon's been around. He knows what it is to run a football team, or offensive football team. He's a big, tall guy. He's 6'7". I mean, he's the kind of guy that can you're throwing the ball down instead of throwing the ball up. You know, like watching Mayfield a couple of times. He soars some of his passes high because he's only 6 feet tall, and they go over his receiver's head. Glennon's got a nice touch. Glennon really surprised me, but you know he's been around. I mean, he's been a professional football quarterback. I don't know whether the Jaguars will retain him. I'm sure that he's going to be playing for the rest of the year. As of this morning, Minshew will not be the second quarterback. Luton will be the second quarterback. So if something happens to Glennon or he's ineffective, then they'll bring in Luton. And after that, because I'm sure Minshew has fractured thumb, is not going to be ready to play ball. So those kind of things, you know, are bothering me a little bit. I hate to see all those seasons end up like this because it just doesn't seem right. And we're talking about the best teams in the country. They're going to be playing for a national championship, and you got the Big Ten up there saying, well, you know, we got to be part of this. Well, you know, the best teams have only played 4 games. I mean, what's up with that? So how can you possibly include the Big Ten in something like this? Well, you know, there's a lot to be said about that. Certainly, with Indiana and Wisconsin playing well,
yeah,
and Ohio State, of course, would be there. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I guess I'll have to find out down the road and see if these guys can play 5 or 6 games to get them eligible to be thought of in the same breath as Clemson and Alabama.
Yeah, you know, it is such a weird season, and, you know, it was something that you and I talked about going into this, Papa Joe, is how are they going to be able to figure this out? You know, how can you judge when, you know, ACC schools are playing, you know, 10, 11 games, and then you got, you know, the Wisconsins trying to play, and, you know, Ohio State didn't play this one, but they're going to maybe, they can't reschedule, and then they're going to do. So, I mean, it's really difficult, again, but I said this will show you more now than ever where the favoritism lies in college football. You know what I mean? Because the reality of it all is the teams, whether they played this many games or that many games or whatever it may be, they're still going to take care of the teams that they want to take care of. That doesn't mean that these teams aren't talented, but, you know, Ohio State's played 4 games, Notre Dame's played 9, Alabama's played 8, Clemson's played 9, Texas A&M's played 7, Florida's played 8, Cincinnati's played 8, Georgia's played 8. You know, you look at that, Miami's played 8, Indiana's played 6, you know, BYU's played 9, Northwestern's played 6, Wisconsin has played 3. They played 3 games. USC's played 3 games. Iowa's played 6 games. Oregon's played 4 games. Washington's played 3 games. These are all teams that are included in the college football playoff rankings. So, you know, I mean, it's really tough to determine. I mean, and how can you say Ohio State at 4-0 deserves to be with Alabama 8-0, Notre Dame 9-0, Clemson 8-1? You know what I mean? It's like if they play half the season, how is that good enough? But, you know, that's the question that we have to ask this year. And it's the question that brings us into the college football playoff rankings, PJ. But, you know, I'm at a loss of trying to justify and figure this out because, you know, all these rules about how many games you play and who you play and the strength of your conference, we all know that it's BS because at the end of the day, they do what they want to do. The case that they use against UCF, they'll use for Notre Dame. You know, so, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense that's, the college football playoff, the BCS, in and of itself, they're flawed because there's favoritism. They're flawed because, there's this notion and this air of, the rest of the teams, the Coastal Carolinas and the UCFs and the Cincinnatis and the Houstons and whatnot, they're never going to make it. Cincinnati's at 7. They're never going to let them be in the top 4. So, that's just the reality. And, Greg just wrote, Cincinnati will most likely be punished, sad but true. But there's a reality to that they're going to let them rise so far, and they're going to want you to just be proud that you were a part of the discussion, not and not a real part of this thing. So, I think now more than ever we're going to see the favoritism. Now more than ever we're going to see how unfair college football is, because you got an Ohio State team. And granted, they're not a bad team. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They have Justin Fields and company, but I'm just talking about the reality that you have a 4-0 team sitting with 8-0 and 9-0 teams that you're going to say is better than the other teams that played 9 games that might have had 1 loss or no losses. The best example of that is Cincinnati's 8-0, Ohio State's 4-0. They're in the same state, and guess what? Cincinnati's never going to make the college football playoff this year.
No. They have a fine football team, too. They play fast. It's a shame. But, that's the hand we've been dealt, and we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks. I'm not sure if all these teams are going to try to cram everything in their schedule just to play a few. I don't know if Florida has to play LSU to make any difference at all at the end of this year or not. They have it scheduled, but I'm not sure it's going to make any difference to anything. But of course, they have to win. But we'll see where it goes. I'm really interested in how things shake out in the conferences. I want to see the athletic. Your AAC come through okay.
Yeah.
Looking like that Notre Dame probably will play Clemson if they're in different divisions. I'm not so sure about that. I think if they ride through the way it is, I don't see Clemson losing to Notre Dame again. That's for sure. So you can put that in the book right now. Yeah, Papa J said that. Ain't no way that Clemson's going to be losing to Notre Dame this time.
Yeah, and obviously they played that game without Trevor Lawrence. People excited to see Ian Book versus Trevor Lawrence, and that never happened. So the frustration that comes from that, and the reality of all of that. But Trevor Lawrence, is now back. Doing his thing, 26 of 37 in the most recent game, 403 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The man was off his rocker in a positive way. And you think about it, Pittsburgh's not a bad team, and they embarrassed them, 52-17. When Pittsburgh a couple of years ago made it to the ACC championship game, Clemson embarrassed them there too. You took the winner of the Coastal and the winner of the Atlantic, and you put them in the ACC championship, and it looked like Clemson was playing Citadel. So, Clemson is Clemson, and Trevor Lawrence has one more game before everything happens with the ACC championship. He'll be at Virginia Tech, and that'll be this Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. So on December 5th. So make sure that you're checking that out. But yeah, this Clemson team is going to be facing Notre Dame. We would imagine Notre Dame is playing Syracuse this week. I don't imagine there's any way that Syracuse wins that game. What'd you say?
Oi! I don't see that coming again. Oh, I need to say another novena for you, Dan. Jeez, my goodness.
The thing that's really sad is that Dino Babers, when they asked him what the keys to victory were this week on our press conference, they said, Coach, what are your keys to victory against Notre Dame? And he was like, I don't think there are any. And I was like, what? You have to play the game. You're a coach. You don't walk into a game going, well, we're going to lose this one. Vegas can say that. The fans can say that. People on Twitter can say that. But you can't, this is not, you know what I mean? It's like, this is a game. The world could end the day after the game, and that's the last game Syracuse plays. And I'm sure that fans prefer that it's not 69-0. This is not the way you want to end a season. I don't imagine it's going to be close. I don't imagine it's going to be fun to watch. I don't imagine in any way, shape, or form that Syracuse gets out of this one with a victory. But, I would prefer it if Dino throws everything that he possibly can at him. I don't care if he puts the running back on the shoulders of the offensive lineman and they make a giant person and you can't get him down because he's on top of the lineman's shoulders, so the lineman just runs and then he jumps off the lineman and keeps going because his knee didn't touch the ground. I don't care what you have to do at this point. I don't care if you put jelly on the field and get people to trip so that you can take off. At this point, take everything out. Have a water gun. Shoot people in the face with the water. They won't expect it. You can keep running. Syracuse should be doing everything they possibly can right now. Balloon animals, hats out of, rabbits out of the hat, tricks, David Copperfield. I don't care what you got to do at this point. Just do anything to try and make this game interesting. I think that they should pull out all the stops, Papa Joe, and, they should do what they got to do. I mean, when somebody's getting close to you, fart. They'll jump off. I mean, what do you want me to tell you? Just do what you got to do to get a couple of yards is what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're going to be in for a rough night of it. Yeah. But bringing up Lawrence again, he's was out a couple of weeks. Yeah. Obviously, he had some issues, and the talk down here is that is there going to be enough time for him to overtake Kyle Trask and Mac Jones for the Heisman? Yeah, and I'm not sure that that's going to be the case. I mean, Trevor Lawrence has been thought of as a Heisman candidate for 3 years, even when he came in as a freshman. So to me, it would be a shame if he lost it in his last year of eligibility, the last year he wants to play, instead of going tooth and nail with Jones and Trask. But right now, I do have to say that he's sitting in third position. I mean, he's got to come up with some big games and keep it consistent. I don't know who they're playing. I don't know who Clemson's playing for the rest of the year, but it doesn't matter who they play. Unfortunately, Dabo's going to have him run the score up a little bit in order for him to get the individual accolades. But Trask is not that kind of player. He doesn't do things like that. Matt Jones, I don't think does that thing either. I think that Nick Saban will keep it close if he has to, and have the guys play hard and edge away late in the game, put in his 9th and 10th string so they can get some effort. But Florence is a wonderful athlete. He's got great vision. He's got all the throws. It's just a shame that he won't be able to win it, but I don't think he can right now.
Yeah, we look at it at this point, and when you break it all down and really take a look at where the numbers are and whatnot, if we go to Trevor Lawrence and look at Trevor Lawrence's numbers this season, granted he hasn't played every game, but if we look at where Trevor Lawrence is currently numbers-wise when we look at this Heisman race, speaking with Papa Joe on the sports world and life in general, looking at the statistics for Trevor Lawrence this season, he currently has 161 completions on 228 attempts. That gives him a completion percentage of 70.6%. 2,236 yards he has, 19 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Now, granted, when we look at this, the over 2,200 yards, he has done over 2,200 yards in playing 7 games this season, 19 touchdowns to 2 interceptions in just 7 games this season. And then as we go from here, keep in mind those numbers of Trevor Lawrence, and we'll look at the numbers of Mac Jones next, and taking a look, and then we'll look at Kyle Trask. But taking a look at Mac Jones at this point and where he is at through the amount of games that he has played up to this point, Mac Jones has played this season, has 173 completions on 227 attempts, 2,728 yards. His completion percentage is better than Trevor's at 76.2. He has 23 touchdowns, which is 4 more than Trevor, to 3 interceptions, which is 1 more than Trevor. And Mac Jones has done that this season in playing at this point, has played in 8 games for the team. So he's played in 1 more game. And then if you go from there and say, okay, well, what about Florida and Kyle Trask? Keep in mind the numbers. Mac Jones a little bit better than Trevor Lawrence, but played in 1 more game. And then if we look at Kyle Trask this season and where he's at with the Florida Gators in this Heisman Watch on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Cool Ball Studios, Kyle Trask is at 195 completions on 273 attempts, 71.4% completion percentage. So in between Mac Jones and Trevor Lawrence, 2,810 yards, as I was saying, 34 touchdowns, though, to 3 interceptions. So his touchdowns are higher, his completion percentage is lower, but not by much. And Kyle Trask has done that playing in 8 games this season. So, I think that right now in this moment, the race is between Kyle Trask and Mac Jones. And the question is, are they going to be looking at volume of touchdown to interception? Will they be looking at completion percentage? Both of these guys are coming from the SEC, so you can't say, are they looking at one conference above another? I know you're a Gator, PJ, but when you hear Kyle Trask's numbers and you hear Mac Jones's numbers, what is more impressive? What are you tuned in on? What do you think is going to be the determinant potentially?
Well, you have to go a long way back with Kyle Trask. Trask was not a sought-after football player coming out of high school in Texas. As a matter of fact, he was a 2-star. I didn't even know they rated 2 stars. 2 stars, and Florida found him, and he jumped at the chance. And this is the guy that hasn't started a game in high school, and he's he's enlisted to go to Florida to play football.
Yeah.
No starting assignments in high school. A 2-star athlete comes to Florida, pays his dues, watches Felipe flanks, gets in the game, and the rest is unheard of. Now, it's something to be said for all of these guys, actually, because they're older. They're older guys. Trask is 23. He's going to get his master's, for crying out loud. Jones is 23 years old, and Florence, I think, is still only 21 or 22. But these guys have got good heads on their shoulders. They know how to play the game. They know what offense to run. They don't really need to be badgered by any coach or anything. Matt Jones and Kyle Trask could run it themselves. They probably will in these next couple of games if there's not going to be any competition. But I don't know what Alabama's got coming up, but I think Alabama's playing LSU. LSU, 29 points. Oh, my goodness, that's terrible. Anyway, Florida's playing Tennessee at Tennessee. They've always struggled at Tennessee.
Yeah.
They'll do the best that they can early and get some fast footing. But they have so many weapons that it's not unusual for Trask to throw to 9 or 10 different receivers that has a reception. I mean, and Mullen said that. He said beginning of this year, he says, "Listen, I like what I see. I got a lot of young kids." He says, I'm not going to sit them. They're going to be in the rotation. They're going to be out and out and out and out. That's what he's been doing. So it's not unusual to have Florida out there with 3 or 4 guys on offense and 3 or 4 guys on defense that are true freshmen. So you can see the way things are going with Florida. I'm still looking for Emory Jones to make a big impact. I hate to think of it if Kyle Trask ever gets hurt, because he's the next in line. And this guy's a killer. I told you that before from the get-go. This kid's a killer, and he's Emory Jones will be someone they'll light it up next year, and you're going to hear an awful lot about him. Going to carry Florida on his back. He's not a very big guy. He's about 6'2", 190. Sort of reminds me of Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Doesn't run as well as Jalen Hurts, but he's a beast, and he's got a hell of an arm. So, all of these teams we talk about, they have exceptional athletes that are running their teams. They should be all congratulated for the season they've had, and let the 3 of them battle it out on the football field. I know we've left out Justin Fields, but I can't see that. I can't see that. I mean, he's a hell of a player, but my gosh, he's only played 4 games, and they want to give him the Heisman Trophy. So that's not going to happen. Unfortunately for Justin, it's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and we look at, kind of as this comes down the wire, it comes down the pike, I think it is between Mac Jones and Kyle Trask. Trevor Lawrence is going to be in the discussion because of who he plays for. He's going to be in the discussion because of what he has done up to this point, obviously. I do want to put up on Twitter, as you know, we put polls up there all the time, to give you the poll on who you think should be the Heisman Trophy winner if it were to be given out today. So we will be discussing that, putting that up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora so that people can make their vote this morning as PJ and I discuss it and beyond that throughout the week. So we do appreciate that. Inside of the Cafe Cubal studios, Papa Joe joining us a day early. And PJ, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how the ACC schedule has changed in order to aid Notre Dame a little bit and give Clemson and Notre Dame an open week. Apparently, nobody thinks Notre Dame is going to lose to Syracuse, so including the ACC. So we will discuss all of that when we come back here. I can believe this morning that I said when I was like, if Syracuse is running the ball and somebody gets close to him on Notre Dame, fart and hope that you had chili the day before, and the guy's like, oh, and then they just back off for a couple yards. I never thought I'd have to say it, PJ, but when in doubt, when you're on the field and you're outnumbered and outmatched, fart a little bit just to see what happens. We'll take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I never cease to amaze my own self. So I will take a step aside. When PJ and I come back, we'll have more to talk about college football and the NFL, including Shad Khan's kind message in his firing of Dave Caldwell. This man, even when he's firing somebody, knows how to be eloquent, to the point, and respectful. We'll talk about all of that right after this, where sports meets life.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road, is proud to be your local neighbor, growing with you for over 20 years. We're open 7 days a week for lunch, dinner, and drinks. For takeout, delivery, or catering, call us at 315-622-5100. When you order online and use our promo code AVS10, you will save 10% on your online purchase at myavicolis.com. And make sure to join us monthly for our live on-site broadcasts centered around Liverpool athletics. Avicoli's, your local, trusted neighbor right at the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road.
Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or, of course, the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
Trapper's Pizza Pub, located on 5950 Butternut Drive in East Syracuse. Right off of Bridge Street is your local community supporter right around the corner. Join us on site at Trapper's Pizza Pub for our live monthly broadcast supporting Central New York student athletes and their sports programs. Call 315-438-4444 for more information. And find us on Facebook and Instagram at Trapper's Pizza Pub. Trapper's Pizza Pub, your local community supporter right around the corner.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, as well as on mixlr.com/WakeUpCallDT, and of course on Facebook Live on Facebook.com/LiveNowDT. PJ is hanging out with us this morning a day early, but not $1 short, hanging out with us here where sports meets life. It's frosty down in Florida, and it's snowy up in Syracuse. God wanted to connect us both. He found a way to do it. So PJ is hanging out with us here this morning. Happy to have him here. The Wildcat Sports Pub will proudly bring you the Fantasy Football Power Hour in just a little bit, in hour number 2 with Mike Sofka. I'm realizing that I tell you all the time that Florida is the second home, the second hub of Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And when you think about it and really break it down and take a minute, Papa Joe comes on the show every week from Florida. Mike Sofka every week from Florida. Julian Wiggum every week from Florida. So when I say that it's the second home, it does embody that, because we got 2 Florida guests on today hanging out with us here where sports meets life. So with that being said, let's bring PJ back into the fray as we continue to have some fun. And what did Greg say? The Orange really need to step up their fart game this Saturday. Yes. Yes. See, the listeners, they get it. You get it. So, but that's awesome. That's really cool. So, with that being said, PJ, I did want to talk about how the ACC switched up the schedule to make things a little more favorable for Notre Dame as they get set for their first ACC championship game. Again, want to make a note that nobody, including in the ACC, believes that there's any way, shape, or form that Syracuse wins this game, or else what's the need to change the schedule? But they adjusted the schedule. This is what's going down. So there's been a series of changes. Both Notre Dame and Clemson will have an open date on December 12th, which is a week before the ACC championship game in Charlotte, North Carolina. The Irish were scheduled to play Wake Forest, while Clemson did not have a game scheduled. Florida State wanted to play Clemson on December 12th. I'm sure they did. But so,
And now they didn't play Virginia this last week.
Yeah.
I don't know what Norville's doing over there. What's happening? God,
It's-
like Norville play football, buddy.
It's you know what, Papa Joe, I told you. Everybody's got a different plan. You know, some people, I said, go out there and fart, see what happens. You know what I mean? And you know, other teams are like, hey, you know, that mindset of we can't lose any more games if we don't play them. So, you know, it just interesting.
I gotta tell you something though before you keep ranting in here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. What's today? December 2nd.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it here now. That Mike Norvell in 2 years will have a championship team at FSU. Now, let me preface that by saying, first of all, he's a hell of a recruiter. They actually wanted him to come and coach there. They were a little bit leery about the Willie Taggart deal, but they actually wanted Norvell to coach there. And on top of that, he is playing 73 kids that are either freshmen or sophomores. So you can see where this is going. Although his recruiting rank this year is in the high 20s, I'm not sure what the problem is. They have so many issues over there that they can't talk these kids into coming fast enough. You would think that they would have a little bit more alertness to them, but they're not. So Mike Norvell, you heard it here, December 2nd, 2020. In 2 years, we'll have a championship team coming out of FSU. I'm not sure he'll win anything, but he's going to have a hell of a team. And on top of that, he's going to be recruiting as he does normally. So I just want to see him get off to a good start. I don't want to see any team. I don't want to badmouth any team, except listen. I'm talking to my man Jameis Winston.
Who is a Florida State alum, mind you. But
I want to see Norvell. I want to see Norvell clean clock over there. I just don't want to see him beat Florida. But if they can be competitive in the ACC and just give NC State and Virginia and Clemson a little kick in the ass every once in a while, it's certainly going to help the league. I don't want to see any team in Florida be down because, frankly, Daniel, I thought all your listeners know how I would profess this. There are enough kids in Florida that can sign on with teams just in Florida, and they will have a winning season every single year. I don't care how many kids you put down here, how many teams you put down here. There are kids, especially in South Florida. South Florida can actually field a team that could probably beat the Miami Marlins. Well, that's baseball, isn't it? No, Dolphins. Beat the Dolphins. There's a lot of kids, and most of these kids want to stay in state. Some of them go out state. Your Syracuse snags a few here and there, but Mike Norvell's going to be the real deal in a couple of years. I hope I'm right.
Well, this is the thing, Papa Joe. I covered him at Memphis for all 4 years that he was there. So anytime somebody's going to say something positive about Mike Norvell and his ability to do things, recruit and coach, and send guys to the NFL, I'm going to say yes on yes on yes on yes. Because if he did it in Memphis, Florida State, they're supposed to have more money, right? Memphis does a lot of things, but I'm just saying stereotypically, if you can do it in Memphis, then you look at the ACC, you look at Florida State, you look at the facilities, you're in the state of Florida, arguably the best state for recruiting to a lot of people. So if he can do it in Memphis, then he should be able to do it at Florida State, and Lord knows he did it at Memphis. So I appreciate everything that he's done up to this point. I respect him like crazy, and I look forward to what he's going to do. So I'm very, very excited and very much looking forward to it, and I do hope that you're right, because my boy Evan, as well as Miss Mary T, and, because I have a lot of respect for Mike Norvell, and I want there to be competition. When this eventually goes back to divisions and the ACC has the Atlantic and the Coastal, I want Clemson and Florida State to fight for that top spot. I don't want it to be as easy as it's been for Clemson. That doesn't mean I don't respect Clemson. It means my buddy Fresh is watching right now from the state of Florida. He knows I do my Mickey voice, so I'll do it for him. Oh, boy, what's up, Fresh? But yeah, the reality of it all is Mike Norvell is a quality recruiter. He is a quality head coach. He's a quality schemer. His teams never give up. And I hope that Florida State respects and appreciates what they have right now, because he is going to be something incredible wherever he goes. So I do want there to be competition, and I want Florida State to be vying for this thing with Clemson. I don't want it to be as easy as it's been. Clemson's had a cakewalk. Last season, it wasn't even a contest. There was nobody in the ACC that was testing them. So, hopefully that changes, and changes for the better. Looking back at the schedule, the Notre Dame was supposed to be playing Wake Forest, like I was saying, and then Clemson did not have a game for December 12th. And there was the notion that they were going to play Florida State then, but they didn't want to have to travel back to Florida State. If Clemson beats Virginia Tech this Saturday, it secures its spot in the ACC championship game, but Notre Dame is already secured because it holds all tiebreakers. They have an undefeated record on top of the fact that they beat Clemson, who's right behind them, so they're going to be there no matter what. An interesting thing that happened, though, Duke was supposed to play at Florida State. Duke will play at Florida State on December 12th. You think that that's going to happen. That game was supposed to be played in Durham, North Carolina, but instead it's going to be played in Tallahassee. So that works out in Florida State's favor, and that's a good thing. So we're looking at different protocols and testing and whatnot. The ACC needed to make a change after 2 straight games involving Florida State were postponed the morning of kickoff. So they had to change their protocol for testing. They're now asking that a PCR test is administered on Thursdays so they can receive the results before traveling for games. Thank God this isn't the Dodgers, because if it was them, you wouldn't know until the middle of the game. But the ACC needed to make a change after 2 straight games involving Florida State, postpone the morning of kickoff because test results were not in hand before travel. It happened first with the Clemson game when the medical staff did not agree it was safe to play because Clemson traveled with a player who unknowingly had corona. Clemson tested before leaving for Tallahassee and did not receive the results until after they arrived. Then last weekend, Virginia traveled to play Florida State, only to have the game canceled because the Seminoles did not get their test results before the Cavaliers arrived in town. So it seems wildly convenient, but hopefully at some point, Papa Joe, that we'll see Florida State play on the football field. But, at this point in time, they haven't really come to play. So I guess it makes, I don't know. Evan's going to kill me for saying all this stuff. But I don't, you know what I mean? It's a very interesting situation. Maybe Syracuse should have done this. Oh, man, Rona. There's Rona, and we can't play Clemson this week because Rona. I guess that's a way to do it, but there's, on the day of the game, the morning of the game, the medical staffs don't agree. And then the Virginia game, it's like, oh, our test results weren't back yet. That's kind of, it seems kind of ridiculous, especially 2 weeks in a row. It seems fishy, it seems strange, but it's also a way for Florida State to not have to lose any more games.
I gotta interject something when you're talking about Evan and MT. You imagine MT? MT goes back to the days of Bobby Bowden.
Yeah.
When she was professor at Florida State. Do you imagine her and her little blonde hair and a little pom-pom, and she's a professor at Florida State. She's sitting in the stands, and she's going, oh. You know, there was an annoying saying from Florida State. Well, let me see, how was it goes? Florida, Florida State, woo! Boy,
Yeah, it's
MT's walking around here smiling because we're actually talking about something good about the Seminoles instead of something bad. But we'll see what happens. I wish Norvell luck, but hey, time to rock and roll.
Yeah, I was in the stands with Evan with the FLORIDA STATE, Florida State, and then that woo at the end, and that tomahawk chuck. So I know all them things down there in FSU. I've seen their pregame. It's pretty amazing and tremendous. And to Miss Mary, your wonderful, beautiful bride, and another mom to me, Papa Joe. Miss Mary, I know that you can hear me right now. I want you to low-key make some coffee, put it in that Florida State mug, and I want you to look over. I want your eyes to look over that at Papa Joe while he's talking to me right now, while you're sipping on that Florida State cup. That's what I want.
Sorry, I broke that.
What did you say?
I broke that.
That's awesome. Yeah, where's your lane train mug, PJ? You still got my old Miss mug that I gave you?
Oh, of course. Joe drinks out of that when he's coming over here. Look at the lane train scored some points last week. I'm happy for him. He's doing better than Leach's right now, but both of those guys will be up and running. You bet your ass on that.
One of the greatest lines in the history of Papa Joe on this show. Mary, I want you to drink this cup. I want you to drink the Florida State cup. I want your eyes to look over at Papa Joe while you're drinking it to mess with him. And your immediate, fantastic, and very timely response. Oh, I broke that. That's incredible. That's amazing. So I'll just have to buy Mary another one. I'm sure there's some down in Florida. So PJ, we got to talk about Syracuse for a second. I told you weeks ago, and I didn't say this to be negative. I said it to be honest. My job as a broadcaster is to be impartial. Doesn't matter that I grew up in Syracuse. It doesn't matter I've covered this team and known this team my entire life. I have to be impartial. That is what I expect of others. It's what I expect of myself. So I told you weeks ago that this team was going to be 1-10, and they're 1-9 right now with the opportunity to play Notre Dame and go 1-10. The only other time.
Game of the season?
This is their last game of the season, and the last time that they went 1-10 was back in 2005. Way too close, 2000. That's not that far away. 15 years away. 15 years ago, Syracuse also went 1-10. They did it with Greg Robinson, who many consider to be the worst coach in the history of Syracuse football. What are your thoughts about Syracuse going 1-10 and mirroring a season where Syracuse fans believe they had their worst coach in history?
It pains me to even think about that's going to happen. It's going to become a reality. My heart bleeds for him, but I can't do much for him down here. I gave you some good advice a couple of weeks ago, and I think that you're in the right direction for holding some of these people accountable and going public with it. And I think that, look at Babers and the rest of the team over there, the rest of the staff, they got to be held to the same standards that Dan Mullen does down in Florida or Dabo Sweeney in Clemson. They got to be held to these standards. If you can't find someone to do that, then you yourself should remove yourself. I'm talking about the AD and whatever else goes on up there. I know Syracuse has got a good basketball team. They got a good women's basketball team.
Yeah.
But that's not the same. That's not the same. Now, they have to be held to the same standard. If Dino, you can't cut it, you got to go, and then you got to start all over again. Well, that's okay. You bring in some young guy who's got a great offensive mind and can run some points up and down the score. But it saddens me that this actually happens like this, and I sort of ignore watching it on television if I can get the game at all. I'll have to watch this one because I'm sure this one will be shown. I'll watch it for a little while until it's 14-0, and then I'll turn it off. So I can't watch it. I can't go through that agony, Daniel.
Well, if you feel that way down in Florida, think about it like this, PJ. You had a little dusting of frost this morning. We have full-on snow. That's the pain. So think about that like your pain. The pain you feel in watching Syracuse play how, things are going to potentially go this week. Take that and multiply that just like we multiply our snow this morning. And feel that reality for Syracuse fans. It's been a long, hard year. We got a lot on our mind, and hopefully we will pay attention. Quoted from Carrie Underwood's song, Jesus Take the Wheel. So, and maybe if, that would be the best bet, right? Jesus, just take the wheel. Because at this point, it's not working. It doesn't make sense. It's been crazy. And it's been tough. It's been very, very difficult to watch this season unfold. I never thought I'd see another 1-10 Syracuse season after Greg Robinson. I'm going to be honest with you. I never thought as bad as they could be that they would ever be this bad again. So it is truly difficult to watch, but it's what's happening. And I did put up the poll on Twitter. So for those of you that are on Twitter, follow me at CallDT. That's CALLDT. And for those of you that aren't on Twitter, make a name quick and make sure you do it. It's free. Twitter at CallDT, CALLDT. Who should win the 2020 Heisman Trophy? Kyle Trask, Trevor Lawrence, or Mac Attack Jones? Give me your thoughts on this. I will also put up a poll about Syracuse and the 1-10 season, mirror image of Greg Robinson and Dino Babers. As far as record-wise, I think they're obviously different coaches, but I like to get what people are thinking right now. So I'm going to ask you, which 1-10 season was the worst? Dino Babers or Greg Robinson? So we'll talk about that and so much more. PJ, before I let you go here, and before we hop out of here on the day, we got to make our picks in a second, but I got to talk with you about Jacksonville. I do want to make a note of how things were said, as I said that I would do about Shad Khan here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So to get to Shad Khan's comments on the firing of Dave Caldwell, who has been always very, very nice to me. He said, quote, I've met with Dave Caldwell to express my appreciation for his service to the Jacksonville Jaguars as our general manager. Dave was exceptionally committed and determined to bring a winner to Jacksonville. But unfortunately, his efforts were not rewarded with the results our fans deserve and our organization expects. Our football operation needs new leadership, and we will have it with a new general manager in 2021. End quote. I look at the whole thing, but I circled this part. Dave was exceptionally committed and determined to bring a winner to Jacksonville, but unfortunately his efforts were not rewarded with the results our fans deserve and our organization expects. That is such a very, very, very kind comment and compliment to Dave. He's saying Dave tried with all of his might, and everything that he did was not rewarded with the results that we wanted. He tried really, really diligently. He did what he could, but it didn't work out. And I respect that so very much in the way that he worded that. Because if I'm Dave Caldwell, he's not saying he didn't do a good job. He's not saying he didn't do what he promised. He's not saying he came here and he screwed us up. He's not saying he didn't, I know that he didn't do his work in this area and that area and he didn't come through for us. He's saying Dave did so much. He gave so much and his effort was there. It just wasn't rewarded with the results our fans deserve. And I have tremendous respect for Shad Khan because I love the way that he talks and carries himself and how he handles this organization. And Papa Joe, this is just another rose, in the garden of Shad Khan for me, that he's firing Dave Caldwell, but he's doing it in such a way of saying, Dave gave us his everything. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I saw it and I appreciated it. And that really to me, that's pretty incredible to say something like that.
Well, he is. He's a class guy. We all know that. And he did go on record down here saying that Coach Marone and his assistants are good till the end of the season. So, Doug knows that. He knew that all along probably. But, Shad's not a football guy, and I know he's a big businessman, but he struck out on a couple of occasions. He struck out a lot, let's put it that way. Yeah. I mean, he hasn't hit a home run in 10 years. So I don't know what else to say. I mean, Marone is a good man, and he's going to lose his job. He knows that. The rest of the assistants know that. They've probably already got their agents lining things up for him, and that's all you can do in a situation like this. The reason I think this is curious now, why he got rid of Caldwell, obviously, is because he wants to get someone in place. And there are 4 or 5 really big names out there that that can be acclimated to this particular job, definitely. And even the guy that's there now, Trent Baalke, I mean, he's no slouch. He was a GM at 49ers for a while. So this could be Chad's way of maybe easing him in, and then maybe in Baalke, in so doing, go out and find himself a coach. You know, you never know about stuff like that. But if Trent Baalke is being considered for the GM job, then it looks to me like maybe there could be a little movement there. And if that's the movement, then he definitely has an idea of who he wants as a coach.
Yeah, you know, and we look at, and I can't, I mean, if Shad Khan keeping Doug Marrone, and this is not me wishing anything bad on Doug, mind you. Shad Khan keeping Doug Marrone after last season blew my mind. Blew my mind. Doug won 10 games in 2017-18, the year that they were a few points away, 4 points. I should say 5 points because they were down by 4. 5 points away from going to the Super Bowl. 10-6 in 2017-18. Last season and the season before, they had 11 wins. So they had one more win in 2 years than they had in 1 year. 10-6 to 5-11 and 6-10. This season, 1-10. When you put their seasons together, after going 10-6, they've gone 12-31. So how you keep a coach after this will be beyond me. I will not understand. It will make absolutely no sense. If Dave Caldwell has been fired, I don't see... I mean, obviously, Shad's got respect for Doug Marrone. Obviously, Shad has a deep, whatever, positive for Doug Marrone because he's allowing Doug to stay. We saw the Lions nix their GM and their head coach. We saw the Falcons nix their GM and head coach during the season. But in Doug's case, the GM gets nixed and he gets told, hey, you're good through the end of the year. Just know that. You're good for a few more games. But I don't see how a 1-10 team can retain their coach. I really, really don't. And I just don't think it's working. You know, Doug, unfortunately, when he was at Syracuse, he had 2 good seasons and 2 seasons that were eh. And when he went to Buffalo, he had 2 seasons. He was not great and then got better. So we've never really seen him stick around and show what can he do. And sticking around in Jacksonville hasn't been working. 10 wins in 1 season versus 12 wins in 3 seasons. That's the writing on the wall right there.
You know, the hell was I going to say, Daniel? I had a point. Well, in any event, Marrone will exit with class, and he'll give his guys a big pat on the back wherever he goes. And look at these last 2 games. They played for the man. They played for Doug. They could have won both of these games. And then Cleveland just had better personnel in different areas of the game. They just that's how they won.
Yeah.
And then the week before was just the same thing. Look, if they were going to lay down, they would be losing 49-0.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're playing hard. I mean, I can see that. I can hear that because I get every game down here. I don't have to worry about it. I get every Jaguar game down here, and I see how they play, and I hear how they hit, and I know what Glennon did this last week was good, and I know that Chark and look at these guys. This is a really, really good team. Robinson, God bless that kid. If it wasn't for Robinson, I'm not sure where they would be. He's to me. I mean, Joe Burrow's probably going to get the award, but to me, he's the offensive player of the year, the offensive rookie of the year. That's in my opinion. He's a hell of a player. He is sound as can be. He runs his routes. He hits the line quick. He's got north-south speed. He's got east-west speed. He's just a joy to watch. And, you know, the guys know that, too. They know that when they got 3 yards in a cloud of dust and they need 4 yards, he's going to get it. And that's the way. But they're playing for Marrone. It's not like they're quitting on Marrone. They're playing for Marrone. Now they're going to Minnesota. Who knows what the hell's going to happen up there? But Minnesota's not that good either. But they have a hell of a quarterback, and they got the best running back in the league right now, and one of the best receivers. So get better.
Yeah, I mean, and I think they do. I think they need new blood. I do, and I think that they need a change, and see what comes from this. By the way, early voting in right now. I feel like when I say early voting, people start twitching because we still don't know who some of our representatives are in polls right now, or in votes right now, as they recast ballots in New York. And the New York election news and updates has been, since the election in the beginning of November, almost a month now, has been sitting here on my Twitter feed because we're still trying to figure out who won some of the races. So I know people twitch when I say voting, but Kyle Trask in the early votes and Mac Jones are 50-50. No votes for Trevor Lawrence yet, and who should win the 2020 Heisman Trophy. So make sure you vote in that. You could vote in my poll by going to Twitter @CallDT. That's CALLDT. Papa Joe, final thing we got to do here on the show today is discuss our picks for the week. So let's do our picks for the week and give our thoughts on what's going down. Thursday games this week. No Tuesday games, no Wednesday games. Just Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So the Thursday game this week, by the way, there's a Sunday game. Pardon me. Washington State at USC on Sunday, December 6th. So this Thursday, a couple games going on. And then, like I said, with Friday, we have 2 games going on. But Saturday's games, Ohio State at Michigan State. Michigan State has been all over the place. I don't know how much sense they make to anybody. They beat Northwestern and they beat Michigan, but they lost to Iowa and they lost to Rutgers and they lost to Indiana. They have Ohio State now. What are your thoughts on Michigan State and in Ohio State in this game?
Boy, they have been a real problem. They just don't seem to grasp it when they need it. I'm not sure that's coaching or not. Certainly they got the athletes up there, but Ohio State has been ripe for the picking. I mean, Indiana almost did it. So look, we know that Ohio State's going to have far better athletes, but if they're playing at home, they're playing at Michigan State. I mean, if there's any way that they can conjure up some type of offense that can slow these guys down, then do it.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can hold the ball, if they can play the game, if they can hold the ball for 60% more than what Ohio State has, they got a chance to win the game. But they can't let Fields run all over the place and throw the ball all over the place. They got to have long drives. They got to hold on to the football. They got to run it. They got to throw the short passes, keep the chains moving. Because if they go 3 and out, Justin Fields is 14-zip before you even know it.
Yeah. So the reality of it all is that we're both going with Ohio State in this matchup. Ohio State looking like they could be going undefeated here in the regular season. Texas A&M is playing at Auburn. Texas A&M is right outside of the college football playoffs top 4. And something great to see with Jimbo Fisher. This might lock him up with a contract extension of another 30 years and $7 more million a year. We know how the SEC works, and then he could get fired in 2 years. That's the SEC for you, but I'm happy for Jimbo. I'm very fortunate and very proud and honored to have spent time with Jimbo Fisher. Would love to speak with him again and respect him very, very much so, and got to know him when he was at Florida State. So Texas A&M, believe it or not, folks, has crept all the way up the polls to number 5 in Jimbo Fisher only being there for a few seasons. Auburn is who they're playing on the road. Auburn has not defeated a ranked team since defeating Kentucky in the first week of their season when Kentucky was ranked. They are not ranked now. And so Auburn getting that win has not defeated a ranked team since then, including getting embarrassed by Alabama this past game at 42-13. What do you think about Texas A&M at Auburn?
I'm going to go on a limb here and say that Auburn has a shot at this game. Jimbo has done a great job over there. He's had this kid Kellen Mond now. I think he's had him for 3 years. Started as a freshman. He's progressed pretty good over the years.
Yeah.
And they beat Florida. So, but I do look. I think that Auburn has a shot in this game. It's actually pretty close. There's only about a 3 or 4 point difference. To me, that's a pick-em game. So I'm going to go with Auburn.
Oh, wow. PJ going with Auburn in this one. I'm going to stick with Texas A&M. I, every single season, want the college football playoff to have to be faced with a tough decision that they can't adequately have a reason for, because I want them to expand the college football playoff. So right now, and that's not me wishing bad on anybody, it's me It's me just stating that I want them to see that 4 is not enough. So Texas A&M, do your thing. Keep winning, keep making things interesting, and make the college football playoff have to make some really tough decisions, because I don't think it's fair that the same teams seem to make it every year. Now, granted, Alabama and Clemson are good. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they're not good. I'm just saying it gets frustrating after a while when there's always a couple teams that deserve to be there. Cincinnati. So, with that being said, PJ, we got a couple more games to rock through here. Syracuse plays this team called Notre Dame. What are your thoughts on Notre Dame and Syracuse? Syracuse is 1-10. Notre Dame is 9-0. So, a very evenly matched up game here. What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's terrible. There's nothing you can say. I mean, I just hope that the kids show up. I hope that they play hard. I hope that they try to win the line of scrimmage a little bit. It's the same old story when you got a big team like that. You got to keep them off the field. And Notre Dame can score some points too. But I look for after the first couple of series, the game will be over anyway. So I just want to see them compete in the trenches, see if they can win a few battles, maybe get some positive yardage, and go from there.
Coming from PJ, Florida at Tennessee will be the last one we'll do here before we hop out with you for the week. What do you have for Florida at Tennessee?
Tennessee, they're really after their coach up there, Dickey. He's not doing a good job. He's recruiting the heck out of everyone. He's doing a good job that way, but he's not winning. And this is a potential trip-up game for Florida too. You're going out of state. It's going to be cold up there. It's going to be snowing up there. What the hell are these guys? These guys are from Florida. They don't want to go up there and play in the snow. So I think the talent will probably end up. Florida will probably win the game, hopefully rather easily. But this is a potential trip-up game for them.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Florida in this matchup as well, picking Florida over Tennessee. And Papa Joe, what about Florida State? Oh, they're not playing. So, with that being said, I want to thank you for joining us a day early. I know we had to shift with your schedule this week, so I'm happy we got to bring you on here, PJ. And you'll be back at your regularly scheduled broadcast of Thursdays on Wake Up Call this coming week, Thursday from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time, where sports meets life inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. For now, safe travels, God bless, feel better, and know that I'm always there with you, PJ.
Thank you, Daniel. Bye now.
Take care. That coming from Papa Joe here, where sports truly meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So I'm very, very happy to be able to have PJ here on the broadcast with me, and thank him so much for being a part of the show. So with that being stated, we are going to get set to have Mr. Mike Sofka on here. We're going to take another step aside here for a fast break on this video, and then we'll be back with a new video momentarily here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora.
Cafe Cabal Mobile Cafe brings the cafe experience to you. We'll roll out to your neighborhood or office, ready to serve our locally crafted espresso bar to our loyal patrons. Inquire at cafecubal.com. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, located on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, is home to over 40 flavors with more than 200 flavors in their total wheelhouse. Sky's the limit for this sweet and savory Central New York company. Keep it local at your parties, fundraisers, wedding showers, baby showers, and more by calling 315-450-MA-PA. That's 315-450-6272 for popcorn bars with custom flavors and colors at your upcoming event. Make sure to visit them on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. And for more information, go to maandpazsnacks.com. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? The Millhouse Market, located on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York, is worth the drive every time. Make sure you download their app and head out there Tuesday through Sunday. Download the app on the Google Play or Apple App Store. You'll have their entire menu at your fingertips, from their homemade breads and desserts to their salads, their quinoa bowls, rice bowls, brick oven pizzas, and their sandwiches that are named after the families that helped to settle what is today's Pulaski, which is incredibly, it's just an amazing tribute to the community, an amazing connection to the community, a connection to everything that Pulaski has been and will continue to be as it grows and blossoms and progresses, and a connection to your taste buds that challenge you every single time to keep the same favorite, because every time I try something new at the Millhouse Market, it ends up supplanting the thing that I had before, and then I go back to that, and I go back to this, and then I find another new one. Everything I've had there has been great, and I wouldn't say it unless it's true. So thank you to the Millhouse Market for all that you do, to Rebecca Alford and her team there on 3790 New York 13 in Pulaski, New York. Contactless pay on the app, as well as a drive-up window, so you don't even have to get out of your car. Easy grab and go at the Millhouse Market, whether it's 1 mile away or 30 or whatever it may be. They are absolutely positively worth the drive every time. With that being stated, we are going to end this video on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora to start a new one. You know, every Wednesday we have our own fantasy football videos, just because of the high volume that we have for fantasy football and the connection that we have with those of you playing fantasy worldwide. So we give you your own video just so you can get to it easily when you're making your picks for the week. I know how important it is for you to get to the information as quickly as possible. So for those of you that are here with us on Facebook, we're going to end this video and start a new one. So make sure you follow us back to that one.